Cuchi! Welcome to So It's a Show, a podcast where we attempt to keep up with Lorelai and Rory's pop culture references on Gilmore Girls. I'm Kyla.
And I'm trying not to laugh too hard at your Cuchi. But
Cuchi,
also,
Cuchi.
my birth name is Taylor.
Welcome to the show. I should have said my last name. I'm Kyla Kathnedu because that would have fit with this episode.
Yes, it's trending. It's on trend. You're just trying to speak to current trends, right? It's not a genuine last name.
No, it's a genuine last name.
Oh, really? You're not just trying to, keep on top of what's cool and on topic for this episode?
No, it is my legal name, Kyla Kathnedu.
Not your birth name, but your legal name.
This is true. Not how I was born. I was not born this way. All right.
Sorry, Lady Gaga.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. I'm glad that we have that song.
Yes.
I'm glad we have Lady Gaga mostly, though. Her new album is awesome. Have you listened to it?
I agree. I love it. And The Million Reasons has been a jam lately. I like the Hey Girl.
I like Joanne.
Ayo, ayo.
I like, what's the other one that I like? Something Girls. It's a kind of beverage.
Soda Pop Girls?
No, not The Outsiders.
I know.
Shoot, what is that song? Something Girls.
Well, there's Hey Girl.
Hey Girl. No, it's not that one.
Is it Grigio Girls?
Yes.
Thank you, Spotify.
I was getting it on iTunes, but it didn't come up. But it's there. This is becoming a little mini battle between us.
I know, and it's not intentional. I have no problem with you using iTunes.
I have no problem with using Spotify.
Good. Then we can be friends.
I guess so. So special today is we have a guest.
Speaking of friends.
We have Sarah Cushing, who was born Sarah Cespedes. Although I could say that much better. Sarah Cespedes.
Which is a phenomenal last name. And it was always one of my favorite last names to say in college.
Yes, she kept her initials, but changed it to a little more American.
Mm-hmm.
A little more English. She was my roommate last semester in college. Good friend. We all went to the same school together. And so I'm sure, did you have some classes with her?
I'm sure we had some writing classes together. Because we were both writing majors, although not the same major.
Yeah, journalism, and then hers was professional writing. So we think she could give us a little bit of expertise in this area, and you'll find out why. But let's bring her on.
Sarah!
Hi!
Hi!
Yay! Our guest is here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us.
It is so good to hear your voice. How are you doing, Miss Sarah?
Good. How are you, Taylor? It's been so long.
I know. I'm good. You are a cool person. I just wanted to say that.
Aw, I have fond memories of you, Taylor.
Good. Probably being too loud, running through the J-Lab and,
Yep. We were all there.
Hounding you down to get your yearbook or something like that.
Aw, all good stuff, though.
All right, well, this is Sarah, and I was introducing you earlier that your name is Sarah Cushing, your legal name is Sarah Cushing, but your birth name would be, and you should pronounce it, because I haven't said it in a while, because it's not your name anymore, but what is your birth name, Sarah?
My birth name is Sarah Cespedes.
See, I can never get the THs in there right.
It's okay. People say I have a lisp when I speak in Spanish.
But you don't. It's how you're supposed to talk.
See, that's what I always say.
And they're like, but no, we're used to Mexican Spanish. This does not make sense. So let's play the clip and get into this reference that you all want to hear us talk about.
So, you had a visitor tonight.
Yeah? Who?
Narcolepsy boy.
Dean came over?
Oh, yeah. He pulled the old tapping on the window bit.
Were you mean?
Excuse me, I am never mean.
You were mean.
He told me nothing happened.
Nothing did.
I know.
You do? Really?
Rory, there are only two things that I totally trust in this entire world. The fact that I will never be able to understand what Charo is saying, no matter how long she lives in this country, and you.
Hopefully not in that order.
Sarah, our first segment after we listen to the clip is, what did you make of this clip? Did it make sense to you? Did you know what Lorelai was talking about? Because sometimes we don't know what Lorelai is talking about.
I usually don't.
To be honest, I did not know what she was talking about. I know, shocker. But here's the thing, it's justifiable. So I had to look up who Charo was, and I even asked my parents about it because I had no idea. And to be honest, they didn't either. So I had a lot of fun learning about her and her acting career and her music. And to be honest, she was born in Spain. She lived there, but then she actually moved to the States in the 60s. And that's where she really got famous. And my parents and I didn't move to Spain until 1991. Oh. So I think we had missed the whole Charo wave.
Yeah, I didn't know who it was either. I just assumed with the name and not being able to understand her that it must be a person from another country. But that was it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know the name, like I knew of the name Charo, but I could not tell you who that was, anything about her.
Right. Well, now we can tell everyone about her. She's from Spain.
Yeah. Yes.
P.S.
I started listening to a little bit of her music, actually, because she's was a guitarist, and she played a style called flamenco. I actually used to take dance lessons of flamenco when I lived in Spain, so I got a lot of flashbacks listening to her music of like flowy skirts and learning the dances and my first pair of black heels, and it was really fun.
Wow, did you wear, like, was there a special costume that you wore, special footwork? What was it like?
Yeah, it was the long flowy skirts. Mine was red, and it was this shiny fabric. I remember my mom made it. But it was really fun because whenever we twirled, it would just flow. And I had my first pair of black little heels, and I thought I was so cool stomping around the studio.
Yes.
Just learning how to dance, and her music is beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yes, I was so impressed. So actually, when I was like looking into her for this episode, the first thing I did was listen to her music on Spotify, which is her, like, some of it's poppy, but she also has like a flamenco guitar album. And then I got to know more of her public personality, and it was different than what I was expecting.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. Because when I had seen her, I'll talk more about this later, but she was in Jane the Virgin, which is a show that I love that's on right now. I had that picture of her in my head, and when I went to iTunes to listen to her music and the flamenco guitar, I didn't think that it was her playing it. Because it just seemed so, and maybe that was just me like totally judging her, but it just did not seem to fit because it was so beautiful, and she's just very sporadic and peppy, and I had no idea that it was her playing until I watched videos of her playing, and I thought, oh my goodness, I completely misjudged this lady's talent. But that's really cool that you used to learn flamenco. How old were you when you took those lessons and had black heels?
I was 8 or 9, around that time.
Cute little Sarah.
Running around.
I feel like heels are a rite of passage for many girls in Western culture, or like, it's just like, oh, I'm growing up, I get a pair of heels, but to get it for a dance lesson too, that's awesome. That's even more cool.
Yes. Well, I was very much a tomboy, I would say, because I had boy cousins, and I was always running around, getting holes in my pants and all that stuff, scraping my knees. So it was really fun being girly for the first time in that sense, and feeling a little bit like a grown-up.
And could you tell us, Sarah, because I know about your crazy moving around history, but I don't know if Taylor does, and certainly people listening don't. So you want to give us a little background into Sarah and where you've been?
Sure. So I was born in Caracas, Venezuela, and I lived there for, well, my parents were from there. My older brother was born there as well. And then when I was 5 months old, my whole family moved to Spain, and we lived outside of Madrid, which is the capital. And we lived there for 10 years, and we moved to Pennsylvania back in 2001.
And there you stayed.
And there we stayed. There I still live.
Now, one thing that Charo is known for, and especially showed in this clip, is that Lorelai mentions is not being able to understand a word that she says, even though she's lived here for decades. You said she moved here in the 60s, right? So decades. Mm-hmm. And when I first met Sarah, she was moving into the dorm, and she had who I assumed was her mom with her, moving her in. And I came in because I'd lived there the past year, so I was welcoming the newbie. Sarah, had said hi, hello, and then turned to talk to her mom, and she had a thick accent. And I was so confused because Sarah did not have any accent, but the woman with her was very thick, and so I thought, is she adopted? Like, is this her mother? Who is this person? And I can understand what she was saying, but the accent was still so heavy, and Sarah didn't have it. I just thought of that right away when we got into Charo, and no one being able to understand what she says.
Yeah. Well, and when I first heard Lorelai say that, I was kind of like, oh, well, once I knew more about Charo, I was kind of like, oh, that's kind of a very just American way to look at Charo's accent. Like, it's just really hard to understand. But then once I learned more about Charo, she seems to really lean into that and is fully aware. So it seems intentional on her public persona part. So I guess it kind of makes sense that Lorelai would say that.
Yes, it seems exaggerated.
Yeah, and I even watched her on Jane the Virgin, and her pronunciation was much clearer than anything else that I heard.
Maybe when she's playing a part, she doesn't need to have it so thick.
Yeah, like she's trying to speak better English so that, because that's what the directors want. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and then actually she's on, she just got booted on Dancing with the Stars a couple weeks ago, and I watched some clips of her on Dancing with the Stars, and they gave her subtitles, even though she was speaking in English, because her...
Aww.
So, okay, I found this really fun quote from her. I found a New York Times review of a TV special she had in 1976, because this woman has been in the entertainment biz for so long. So this is the New York Times. Charo has a boundless energy, modest performing talents, and a funny accent. Yes is pronounced jes, for instance, and the audience, for some reason, never fails to laugh. If the pronunciation point might be missed, Charo spells it out. Fun, she says, F-A-N. Laughter, with whatever is the Spanish equivalent for chutzpah, she has put these ordinary ingredients together to make a reasonably professional career. And that was like 30 or 40 years ago, and she is still alive and kicking and totally on top of her career. So I think she totally knows what she's doing.
Sticking with that. Yeah, I mean, in so much of what I watched of her, she talked about how different things just made her money. And so she kept doing them.
She's one of those people that in watching clips and hearing her speak, that you just think, like, I couldn't tell where her character or brand, whatever you want to call it, ended and where she actually began.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder what she's like not on camera.
Yeah. Well, should I get into a little bio, tell you a little bit about Charo?
Yes, please.
And if you know anything else that you learned in your own research, feel free to jump in. And Sarah, for sure, you can correct me on pronunciation, because I took Spanish class, but I'm confident it is not as wonderful as your pronunciation. So one of the fun things about Charo is nobody knows when she was born. She has successfully kept her age a secret, which I think is pretty impressive. So she's been in showbiz for decades. I think this is her 5th decade in the entertainment business. So she's not a spring chicken, but she looks pretty good. She has successfully kept it a secret, never given it away. And she was born in, you can correct me, Sarah, Murcia, Spain, M-U-R-C-I-A, Murcia.
Murcia.
See, that's so much better.
It's Murcia.
Perfect. Her full name was Maria Rosaria Pilar Martinez Molina Baeza.
Okay, let's let Sarah do that.
Yeah, I know. Can you remember all that, Sarah?
I have it here. I just read it. Okay, it's María del Rosario Mercedes Pilar Martínez Molina Baeza.
Yay! Oh, that's so much more beautiful.
Yeah.
And you were totally right. She came here in the 60s. She grew up learning guitar at age 7 from local gypsies, which is gypsy culture. I have heard of that in Russia, too. Is that still pretty prevalent in Spain? Do you know?
I know that it was when we lived there, but I don't know what the culture around that is like right now.
Okay.
Did you interact with it at all when you were there?
No, I didn't. But I remember my parents telling stories, or there was the common joke of, they would have even children who were gypsies there, and sometimes they would be pickpocketing people. And so it was just that whole sort of culture that turned into a bit of a joke of like, if a kid was actually able to pickpocket you, then they kind of earned it and they should be able to keep it, because that's not an easy task to do. But I just heard stories. I don't remember, at least when I was a kid, not interacting with gypsies when I lived there.
Right.
Gotcha. So they did not teach you to play classical guitar like they did Charo?
No, but look at how maybe I would have turned out if they had.
For real. You already had the dancing down.
If that had happened.
Missed opportunity.
So then she married a band leader named Xavier Cugat to get to the States, and they pretty much publicly said it was just a marriage of convenience and career. They lived in separate rooms, and she was pretty young. I think he was a lot older than she was. And then her
she was
big
15
breakout
when they got married.
Oh, so maybe we do know her age. Either way, she was pretty young. He got her into places, into clubs to play, and her big breakout moment was when she was on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. So this is, I think, where her experience with the accent came, because she asked if she could play flamenco on the show, and the producer said, "This isn't a zoo. We don't have flamingos for you to play with."
Oh my god.
Oh boy. So she was on the show, she played, and then whenever she didn't know what Johnny Carson was saying, because her English was still, like, she still didn't know how to respond as well in English at this point. Maybe her understanding was great, but it sounds like she was not good at speaking English yet. So whenever she didn't know the answer to a question, she just wiggled her body and said, "Cuchi, cuchi." And so that is her catchphrase. So if you hear anyone say "Cuchi, cuchi," it is from Charo.
Which I saw a couple interviews with her, and she told how she got that. Cuchi cuchi comes from her dog, who was named Cuchillo, for knife. The word for knife. Mm-hmm. I don't know why they named their dog Knife, but they did. And she said that he had an accident that hurt his back, and so he couldn't move as fluidly, so just his bottom would wiggle up and down. And so anyway, she's trying to mimic his movement, actually, and she would call him Cuchi because it's shorter, and that is where it came from, her dog's broken back. So she told that to, it was on Larry King.
Wow. And that just turned into her catchphrase.
Yeah, and she even said in it that I did that, and then people gave me money, so I kept on doing it. All right.
Well, yeah, and then Johnny Carson kept inviting her back. She was on the show a bunch of times, and then she went on to have roles on The Love Boat and Hollywood Squares and Fantasy Island, and so she just stayed busy. And now she's still performing today. She has gone on several tours, playing flamenco guitar and dancing and singing, and she's still up and moving. She's on Dancing with the Stars. She is one talented lady. She understands the business.
Still going strong.
I would say so.
And, fun fact, she also speaks French, Italian, and Japanese.
Are you
Really?
serious?
Yeah. Which makes me think that she knows the accent is super thick and she just plays it up for her public personality.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. Wow.
Interesting. That's a lot of languages.
That's so cool.
Well, and I read one article where they interviewed her and she said, called Cuchi Cuchi, that baloney thing that showed me the way to the bank.
That sounds right.
So, joke's on you if you think she's silly.
Hola, my name is Charo, or the Gucci Gucci girl, but my real name is María Rosario Pilar Martínez Molina Gutiérrez de los Perales Santana Romangueira de la Hinojosa. Acá, Cuchi Cuchi. Buenos días.
I'm sure you noticed that her hair remained huge and the same
Yeah.
since she started. But did you also notice that she is wearing the exact same dress but a different color in everything that she does?
No.
No?
It is the same cut. The sleeves slightly poofy, little low cut in the front, but not so low cut. The skirt is above her knees and poofed out, and it's usually in pink, sometimes in red, sometimes in blue, but usually pink. And I saw her in that in every single interview that I watched. I think maybe there was one that was different, but I watched many clips of her, and it was the same dress and the same hair. I thought that was hysterical. Like, she hasn't changed a bit.
That's so funny. I've definitely noticed the hair,
Yes.
because that has been consistent over the years.
Which is so thick and beautiful. My goodness.
How does it stay up? I just want to know.
Well, it looks like she puts padding underneath her ponytail because it is like straight up on top of her head.
Maybe she uses a bump it. Do you guys remember those?
Yeah.
Seen on TV things? Maybe she's got a
Yeah,
bump
I think she does. I think she does because her ponytail is not touching her head. Like, it is off the ground. But I guess if you got a look that is giving you money, just like Cuchi Cuchi, then I guess keep going
Why
with
change it?
Yeah.
Why change it?
I think she might have, even this outfit you're describing sounds like what she wore on Dancing with the Stars in the performance
Yes,
I watched.
I'm sure it was. If she had any say in it, it was a pink dress just like that. Yeah, she definitely had some catchphrases. Some other ones were she described how she kept her body in shape, and she would hold her hands together and kind of, she would actually do the exercise that Jen did in the movie from several episodes back, Taylor.
Oh! Valley of the Dolls?
Valley of the Dolls. She would stand there and do her chest exercises. So this is her morning routine.
If you want to have a good body, you run, okay? Then wear a brassiere, otherwise in 2 weeks your maraca will be hanging down to the floor. Then you do that after running. Mirror, mirror on the wall, make my maracas 44. Then, por favor, leave my butt up off the floor.
So yeah, maracas, she liked to talk about those. And I noticed in the interviews, the men interviewing her, they enjoyed talking about them as well. And I did not care for the ogling from decades ago and also more recently. She had an interview on Fox News in 2002.
How many people in show business do you know by one name? Elvis, Cher, Liberace. When you've made it to one name status, you've made it. Charo is known for her big hair and her engaging personality. Her
So
So not
classy.
okay. And his face is just like, guys.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
You know, not to
Yeah.
get political, but, you know, we're a little, that's relevant to current events.
it is with Fox News. It is. Doesn't seem
We
so
did not plan
unbelievable.
that with, we did not plan this with that in mind, but there
No,
you go.
We say again, we are not a political podcast. These things just come up.
I know.
So, I mean, but she she talked about herself in that way somewhat. I don't think that other people other than close friends could then have the right to talk about those things with her, but to bring them up themselves. But I think, again, what we were talking about is so true. She had a brand, and she stayed consistent. And part of that was her look. Yeah. A big part of that.
Yes. The look and the accent, I would say.
Yeah.
Here's my other favorite quote from her. So she apparently got some pushback when she wanted to make this flamenco guitar album. And the people who were pushing back were saying that she was going to go broke. And so she said, if I get broke, I can always be an English teacher.
Oh, gosh. In the interviews, yeah, definitely people couldn't understand what she was saying. And then she would always repeat back, well, I'm speaking English, aren't I? You don't need a translator if I'm speaking English. And so she just played it up. And I think everyone just was able to laugh with her and at her. And I don't know. It seems like she doesn't mind.
Mm-hmm.
But one funny quote that I heard from her that I think Sarah will be able to empathize with her about this. She was talking about something exciting, and she said, I get bumps all over my goose. Oh. And I know, Sarah, you have some trouble with our little sayings and idioms.
They're the worst.
Do you still run across some that you haven't heard before, that you don't know?
Yes, for sure. Yes. I even missed one up today, to be honest.
What was it?
I forget what we were talking about. I was at work, and I meant to say, well, what I said was, you can knock two birds with one stone. Oh. And
so close.
And whenever I try to say an idiom, I'll try to validate it, and so I'll ask somebody else and say, I turned to my coworker and I was like, right? I said that correctly, right? And she just kind of laughed and very sadly shook her head and said, well, it's technically to kill two birds with one stone. And I was trying to argue that basically it's the same thing, but
it kind of is.
Well, I mean, but are they dead after you knock? What is knocking a bird? Knocking it down?
Yes, knocking it down. I don't know. It's the non-violent version.
The slightly less violent, yeah. I never noticed that from you, Sarah, in several years of college. So that's funny you say that, because I never remember having that experience with you at all.
I always try to hide it, but some people could tell because there'd be like a second that my face that'll just look so confused. But then I would just try to play it off.
Well, you played it off very well, apparently.
Oh, well, thank you.
But I think I remember teaching you there's more than one way to
Which
skin
is a
cat.
horrible saying. It's horrible.
It is.
I guess it is, yeah. That's sort of gross.
And the whole, what was one that I heard recently? Beating a dead horse? What is that?
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
That's kind of cruel, now that you think about it. Now that you talk about it like that. I had never thought about it that way.
And I have to say, I think you used one, Taylor. What was it? Spring chicken?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I was trying to figure out what I mean, from the context, I could figure out that it was, I'm assuming, like, younger, like, not new.
Yeah, that's basically what I meant by it. Like, she's not a spring chicken. She's not a young person because she's in her 5th decade of showbiz. But I was using a more idiomatic way to say it because, 1, we don't actually know her age, and 2, because sometimes I feel like when you talk about a woman's age, you need to be careful. So I wanted to be more euphemistic about it.
I love that, like, what we're talking about just happened, like, 10 minutes ago when we were recording. And, Taylor, what did you say? That was a more idiomatic way to say it? Idiomatic.
Oh, okay. Euphemistic? Like euphemism?
No, idiomatic, because actually I just bought a game that, Sarah, I will never play with you because it wouldn't be fair.
No.
But it's called Idiomatic, and the cards give you a summary or it changes all the words in an idiom and you have to guess what it is.
Oh my goodness.
Didn't I tell you about
You
this?
did.
Sarah?
I actually do want to try it,
okay.
even though I know it would be disastrous.
It's fun, but
It kind of sounds like Balderdash. Did you ever play that?
I've never heard of that.
I have, but
That was a
I don't
game
remember
we
that being part
played
of it.
sometimes when my 8th grade language arts teacher wanted to kill time. We would play Balderdash, and it's basically like you have to guess definitions of really outdated words or really uncommon idioms.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. And this one is like kill two birds with one stone might be like end the lives of a pair of flying animals with a single rock.
Oh, and then you
So
have to say the idiom then. Oh.
yeah.
That sounds hard.
Yeah, it is, but I've gotten better at it the more we've played with people.
I would watch that.
And it's funny because, yeah, we should play. Because we've played with some people, and Rod, I mentioned earlier that my legal name is now Carneiro, and that's Portuguese name. So, speaking of Latin America, so my husband I didn't know if he'd be able to play it, but he learned so much of his English from like The Simpsons. I don't know. So he knows all these idioms because he's watched so much TV and things to learn his English. So, so he was fine with them. It's kind of funny, but he still mispronounces like all the same words that Sarah, I've heard you mispronounce. It's the same. So it must be something with the English language or just some more difficult words to understand.
I try to avoid those.
And I try to make you say them.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Guys, is it the Princess Diaries where there's an old man that walks in a room and starts like going like, ooh, ooh, like, and someone says, sorry, he learned his English from the Three Stooges.
Yeah, Taylor, that's what, I even thought of that too, and I was like, wait, did he say The Simpsons in that? And I was like, wait, is that Rod or is that movie?
Oh, well, after you said that, I was going, I know I've heard that somewhere else, and then I realized it was a movie, so now I know that is maybe actually an accurate reflection of a way to learn English.
Yeah.
I watched a lot of SpongeBob SquarePants, and I have to say I learned a lot from him.
Oh, that's too funny. Wait. I can do a pretty good laugh.
Wait, who just did that?
Kyla.
Because it sounded really good. Like,
thank you.
I wondered if you did it out of your phone.
No, yes, I did it. SpongeBob.
Oh my gosh. It's been a while since I've watched SpongeBob, so maybe I'm rusty, but that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it hasn't been that long for me.
Good one, Patrick.
So there were some different places that I saw that definitely teased Charo for her heavy accent. And the one that I saw was on the Carol Burnett show, which is near and dear to my heart. Have you guys watched any of Carol Burnett?
No.
I've watched clips, like the Gone with the Wind curtain dress.
Yes. That's a classic one. Mm-hmm. And you couldn't curse on television, so it was, frankly, my dear, I don't give a, and she slammed the door in his face. So they didn't hear it. Okay, well, Carol Burnett, she ran what would you call it? Like SNL, except it was all her and a couple of guys and then guest stars.
Like
and
a variety
it was
show?
Hysterical. Variety show, that's the word, thank you. She hosted a variety show in the 70s, maybe?
That sounds right.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, 70s, that would fit with Charo when she was most popular. But she had a couple skits that she did of Charo, and they were pretty funny. Carol Burnett played Charo, and she had the one other outfit that Charo wore, which was a onesie with no back. The material started at her shoulders and then didn't reappear until her butt. And pants with bell bottoms at the bottom and fur up her calves. And she had the big hair. And one that they did it was an actor, and the director was telling him, oh, your castmate she's out sick, but I have this new replacement. Don't worry, she's great. And so he's like, okay. So he starts the play, and he's saying, oh, my dear sick wife.
Hello? Yes, hello, doctor. Have you gotten the results yet on my wife's tests? What? You say she's taken a turn for the worse? What? She may go at any moment? No, I'm not surprised. She's been getting weaker every day. Thank you, doctor. You've been very kind. Nadine, my fragile, broken little blossom.
The doctor just said you're dying, and she's like, no, I'm not. Cuchi, cuchi, ah! Just is going absolutely bonkers, dancing and just over and over and over again.
Hello, Randolph. You are late. I was getting worried about you. Cuchi, cuchi.
So she is just jumping up and down and gyrating and going nuts. Very much.
I'm looking at pictures of it, and it is hilarious looking.
The sparkly outfit.
Yes. Well, and I'm looking at one where Charo herself was on, and so they have Carol Burnett and Charo in the same outfit, but Charo looks really pretty, and Carol Burnett, well, we'll just say it's not the most flattering outfit on her. It's like a bra top and flared sequin pants, and they have obviously done some work to make Carol Burnett look less attractive. Like, this is obviously not her real body. Mm-hmm. So.
Those made me laugh, definitely. And then, I mentioned earlier that she was on Jane the Virgin. What? And she was friends with Rogelio. Or, help me say that better. Rogelio. Thank you. She was fun, but she was not nearly as crazy, and her English came across better. And Jane the Virgin, I think I view as a breakthrough show as far as diversity in cast, because the lead is not white, and the supporting actors and actresses are not white, and it's a Venezuelan family, which I immediately thought of Sarah, and she's a writer just like Sarah, and that made me so happy. Anyways, so Charo came on, and she came across differently than she normally did, and I thought that maybe that was on purpose, and that was the producers saying, hey, we kind of, I guess, we don't stereotype Latinos and don't focus on people having different ways of talking. So I imagine that maybe they didn't want that side of her. And so she was just she was still Charo, and she was fun, but she was not jumping up and down or yelling. She did say Cuchi Cuchi, though. But I think at this point, she has to. But yeah, I enjoyed that. It was just very stark difference between that and her persona on television.
I saw a little bit of a Larry King interview that she did about that, about her guest star in Jane the Virgin, and she was mentioning how she was so honored to be a part of it, especially because of what you just mentioned. It is a breakthrough show, and it's so great to see a Latina woman as the main actress. And she said she was so honored to be a part of that, and I'm sure that spoke to her as who she is, to be able to be in that kind of show.
Yeah.
Guys, you're making me want to watch Jane the Virgin so much. It's been on my Netflix queue for a while, and I just haven't gotten around to it. But it sounds like a great show.
Yeah, it's hysterical, and so the way they play off of what are they called? Telenovelas,
yes.
So I actually started one of the episodes that she was in to prep for this episode, and then when they did the rundown of all the plot summary that had happened before, because this was in season 2, I was like, maybe this is going to be too much work to try and watch this one episode in season 2. So, but I loved the sassy personality of the narrator recap guy.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I think he won an Emmy, didn't he?
Oh, did he?
Wow.
I know that Gina Rodriguez won Best Actress at the Golden Globes.
Yeah. She was the first actress to win one for a show that was on the CW. And then the next year, the woman who won was also on a show on the CW. So I guess they broke that. Just record clean.
Yeah.
Thank you, God, for making me an artist. I wanted to thank... I want to thank CBS, Leslie Moonves, and David Staff for believing in me. My awesome president at the CW, Mark Pedowitz. You rock. Ben Silverman. Thank you, Jenny Erman, for making me your Jane. Thank you to Stephen Foss and the Jane the Virgin cast and crew. Thank you to my entire cast. I am nothing without you. Thank you to my mom and my dad who telling me to dream big and to never stop dreaming. To my siblings, to my sister, Evelise and Rebecca, for being the biggest role models in my life. This award is so much more than myself. It represents a culture that wants to see themselves as heroes. My father used to tell me to say every morning, today's going to be a great day again, and I will. Oh, Dad, today's a great day again, and I did.
So did your mom watch telenovelas in Spain? Did you watch them? Because Jane watched them in the show as a young girl, so I'm wondering if you did too.
I remember watching one. I can't remember what it was called. I remember the plot line a little bit, but I remember watching it with my mom. But I remember not being allowed to watch certain episodes. But they are just as dramatic as Jane the Virgin would lead you to believe.
Yeah, really.
Me has roto el corazón.
Abuela, it is not what you think.
Yo creo que tú me has estado mintiendo por mucho tiempo.
No, I didn't. I got accidentally... Oh, I don't even know how to say this in Spanish.
¿Tuviste relaciones sexuales?
No, I didn't. The doctor made a mistake. I went to the appointment and she accidentally put a sample of a man into me.
¿Qué?
Well, side note, I did check. Anthony Mendez. Say it for us, Sarah, because it's so beautiful.
Mendez?
Yes, see, that's so much better when you say it. He was nominated for 2 Emmys. He did not win.
But he
Best
didn't
Narrator.
win. Okay.
Oh, he's so good.
Yeah, there's a category for narrator?
Apparently.
Huh. Does Morgan Freeman, win every year?
I don't know. I didn't see who he was up against, but probably.
Oh, that guy. No, I'm kidding.
Morgan Freeman. Who likes him?
Okay, so I recommended the show to you, Sarah, Jane the Virgin, but I want to know, have you, seen that? Do you connect with it a lot? Does it mean something to you to have that story on TV?
I think it's great. I loved it. I was hesitant to watch it at first, just because of the title, to be honest. And I thought, I don't want to watch something that's just going to make fun of her and her decision to get married before having sex. But it was so funny. I mean, even from the first couple minutes of just watching it, I loved it. I loved the whole play on telenovelas, and I loved that the grandmother only speaks in Spanish, and just the bilingual sense of it. And yeah, I did identify with obviously the fact that she's a writer, but also just so much of the culture shifts and especially for the grandmother interacting, outside of the household with people who don't necessarily speak Spanish. And yeah, I loved it. I think they do such a good job.
Huh. And why did you connect with the grandmother and her experience?
I guess because it reminds me of when I first moved here and I couldn't really communicate with people and just the whole strangeness of being surrounded by people and being so different from them, and also then identifying with Jane, who, you know, she doesn't really have an accent, and she's very educated, and if it wasn't for, you know, the fact that I'm white, throws a lot of people off. And they, you know, I've had jokes of people saying that they don't actually believe that I'm from Spain or that I grew up there because I don't look it. And so, and because I have no accent. And so it's cool seeing her not having an accent and kind of seeing that part or play of it as well, with her balancing these two cultures, especially with, you know, how her grandmother raised her and her grandmother's views. And having that history and that heritage, but also living in a completely different culture at the same time and balancing both. And it goes beyond so much more the language. And it's, you know, they talk about religion and they talk about lifestyle choices and all that stuff. And so I could definitely connect with having these two different parts of you and wanting them to fit together.
Yeah. Yeah, do you feel like you've balanced them, or like you've had to do the same?
Mm-hmm. Or in the show?
No, you.
Yes, I think so. I think there's definitely aspects of my heritage that I bring into my life now, which even now being married to a guy who's an American, and I mean, I am as well, but he has lived in the U.S. his whole life. And just the funny differences that I hadn't really thought about until we had somebody who was not used to our culture being in our house so often when I lived with my parents, just how we're so much more relaxed with time. And Josh, my husband, is such a punctual person. Like, if you're early, you're on time for him. And it's a completely different shift from me, who, you know, I grew up in a culture where you kind of take your time and everybody knows that you'll get there when you get there, and it's fine. And meals are not rushed. They're a couple hours long, and especially during holidays, you know, you're just going to sit there at the table and eat, and then you're going to talk and eat some more. So it's funny having these differences, but bringing them together into our marriage, but still being flexible to say, okay, this is something that doesn't really fit into the culture I live in now, and so there's a give and take.
Yeah, so when you're describing, back to Jane the Virgin, when you're describing Jane, it almost sounds like the opposite of Charo. Do you feel like the character of Jane is kind of a rebuttal of Charo, and like, and obviously Charo fully knows what she's doing with her career. Like, I do not think she has no control over her image, but at the same time, like, there were some things that were projected early on her in her career that she just decided to run with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you feel like the character of Jane is kind of a rebuttal of some of that stereotype?
Oh, sure. Yes. It's often in television and in movies, when you have people from different culture or speak a different language, especially if there's an accent, they always play on that. And that's always exaggerated. It's always the punchline with everything. And Jane the Virgin doesn't do that. That's not a thing. It's not even, from what I remember, and Kyla, you can correct me, it's not even something that's brought up even with the grandmother.
No.
It's just how they are, and it's just how it is. And it's not something that they need to address or point out, because it's just how they talk. It's just normal.
Yeah. No, you're definitely right about, not that I thought you were wrong, but I mean about, like, the accent is so much a punchline in so many different things, different movies and TV shows.
Which I think there has to be a point where you can laugh at yourself. I mean, I learned to laugh at myself when I get the American idioms wrong and I can't pronounce some words, but at the same time, you know, I can do it around people who I know are not going to make fun of me for it, but I know who are going to just laugh along with me instead of at me. And there's a real difference in that. And so I think with Jane the Virgin, it just, yeah, I really like it because it's just normal to them. They live in a bilingual household and they have two cultures, and it's just normal, and that's how I grew up. Like, this is just how life is.
Guys, I think I'm going to go watch Jane the Virgin after we finish recording.
I think you should. That can be your weekend. Catch up with us.
Oh no, I was going to be productive. Well, and before we exit the Charo discussion, I have one last tidbit about her. There's actually a second Charo reference in the Gilmore Girls verse, the Gilmore Girls universe. In episode 313, Dear Emily and Richard, Lorelai and Emily have this conversation.
No maid tonight?
Leilani usually takes Sundays off, but she wanted to switch, and seeing as it's just you and I said yes.
Leilani, huh? Very exotic name.
She's from Honolulu.
Cool. Does she know Don Ho?
No.
Charo?
No.
The C&H Pure Cane Sugar Dancers?
Lorelai, please, we don't have a buffer here tonight.
So, that lovely moment brought to you by Charo. When I first looked that up, I thought, why would Hawaii tie in with Charo? And that's because she actually lived in Hawaii for a long time.
My goodness.
So, there you go.
She owned a restaurant there or something, right?
I think so. I think she performed at the restaurant with her second husband.
An actual husband? Maybe?
Yes. Yes. Someone who she seemed to have a non-business, or not just a business relationship with.
Well, that's good. I'm glad she had that.
Yes. And they had a son together.
Is he in show business?
I don't know. That's a great follow-up question that I did not think to look up.
I did see him in my research, and he looked like a Prince Charming type, like the thick hair that he could just run his fingers through, and strong jawbone.
Now I know why Lorelai said that she will never understand Charo no matter how long she lives in this country.
Yeah.
I don't know if Charo wants her to understand her.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. I think Charo is working hard to make sure Lorelai did not know.
That is all part of the plan. Yeah, I mean, just listening to her, it's true. I could not understand her much at all, and I just wondered if the interviewers were just nodding their heads,
Sure.
but not actually understanding it.
And just like Charo's unreliably, or how to say this, just like Charo's reliably unreliable accent, Rory is a reliable good teenager. Is that a good segue?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely what she meant by that, is absolute faith in the fact that she won't be able to understand Charo, and which we're going to say is a for sure thing, and so she can definitely trust Rory.
Well, and it's interesting that this conversation at the vending machines in the hospital, which, for the record, this is after the episode where Dean and Rory fall asleep in Miss Patty's and get in trouble. And Lorelai is saying to Rory, I know nothing happened now, but you are your mother's daughter, and that will not always be the case. So maybe Rory is not as reliable as Charo.
So there's some hope.
And I would say in the grand scheme of the show, Rory is not as reliable as Charo's accent.
And doesn't Rory make a comment about the order in which Lorelai says those two things?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like right afterwards.
Yeah,
She's
you're
like,
right.
I hope not in that order or something like that.
That's a good call out.
And, you know, going back to us talking about Jane the Virgin being a... What? You're laughing. What? You laughing because I'm bringing it back up?
Back to Jane the Virgin.
Okay, no, but I'm bringing it back to Gilmore Girls. I promise. But you're right. I can't stop. But Jane the Virgin being a great representation of a Latino family, Gilmore Girls with Lane Kim and Mrs. Kim and Mr. Kim, kind of, in the revival. But I watched a really great interview. I'll put on our Tumblr, but it was, let's see, Kiko Agena I'm not pronouncing her name correctly. And then the actress.
I think it's Keiko Agena,
Keiko Agena. Okay. As she was interviewing the actress who plays Mrs. Kim, they were interviewing each other. And Mrs. Kim said that when she came in for an interview, she came in talking very heavy Korean accent, you know, nodding her head and just that stereotype. And they said, no, we don't want you to play it quite like that, like lessen it. And so she chilled a little bit, and that's how it came out. So it was new to have a Korean family highlighted on a show, because they were certainly not just drive-by characters. They were a big part of it. Mm-hmm. So they were doing it long before Jane the Virgin was here. So go Gilmore Girls.
I would love to get more feedback on the representation of their Korean Seventh-day Adventist family, because there are certain things that, like, I agree, it's great, like, to have a Korean family on a network show, especially when Gilmore Girls is not particularly known for its diversity. As much as I love the show, that is not one of its strong points. And so I would love, but I'm obviously not the person who can make a yay or nay definitive statement on whether it's overall good or bad. But I know that the character of Lane is based on the producer Helen Pye, her growing up, and her mom was a Seventh-day Adventist. So I would like to think that there's some truth in there for sure, if it's based on the life of someone who's close to the show.
Yeah.
And I think they did a good job. And again, I don't know much about the culture, to be honest, so maybe this isn't a fair statement. But I don't think there's jokes about it, but not in a making fun of it kind of way. It's just kind of drawing humor as they would draw humor out of everything else.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's not made fun of. It's just humor like they would with anything else. That's a good way to put it.
Well, and so much of the show, too, is about mothers and daughters and the differences they have because of their different upbringings, too. So I think Mrs. Kim and Lane is most obviously a foil for Rory and Lorelai, but also you have Lorelai and Emily, who have the more contentious relationship, which is a little more like Lane and Mrs. Kim.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
An aisle where you get kissed by the new kid is a good aisle.
Oh my God, I can't breathe.
Okay, sit down.
No, I can't sit down. I'm too... Oh my God, he kissed me.
Who kissed you?
The Lord, Mama.
Oh, okay then.
Well, Sarah, thanks so much for joining us. This was a blast.
Yes, thank you so much. You guys are doing a great job. Love your show.
Aww,
thanks.
We paid her to say that. We're her sponsor.
Sarah, is there anywhere that people can read your stuff or follow you?
I am starting a couple of projects, and I am hoping to get more of a blog set up, but I can let you know in the future.
I maybe know of a Twitter account that might retweet you, if that were to happen.
Aw, well, thank you.
I can think of one.
Well, that's our show, guys. Woohoo! We did it!
Episode 11!
We are just flying past the double digits now. We're just moving on into them.
Okay, so the bummer is, though, it only took 10 to get to double digits, but now it takes an additional 89 to get to the triple digits. So the benchmarks become much further away.
Yeah, but we can take other benchmarks before that. Like 25.
That's true.
That's a big deal.
Oh, yeah, that's a benchmark. That's great. It's a quarter.
Yeah. Well, if you guys like this episode, you should rate us, share a review on iTunes. That is a great way to help us get into the ears of other people. And we might even highlight some of those reviews. So give us some puns, and we will share them.
The more terrible, the better.
We like puns. You can find us on Twitter at So It's a Show, and individually I'm at Kyla Kathnedu. That's KylaCarneiro.
And I'm Taylor, and you can find me at tblake24 on Twitter.
Woo woo.
Ta-da!
Okay, next episode, guys. We are moving away from TV and into sports. I know, I can't believe it myself because Lorelai and Rory, not so sporty. Except for that one time in racquetball, which didn't go well.
And also, Kyla, I can't speak for you, but Taylor is not the most sporty either. So she attempts to be active, but she is not exactly what you call athletic.
Yeah, I've enjoyed soccer in my time, but yeah, like running is pretty good for me. It's just straight line, some turns. But we're getting into sports that are on television. Olympics.
Every 4 years. Or every 2, depending on how you look at it.
And there's one particular rivalry that dominated our TVs many years ago, and we're going to get into that. So here's a clip. Ciao, Cuchi Cuchi.
Cuchi.
Look, I found them.
Where?
They were in that drawer with the roasting pans.
Cool. Ooh, skates.
Rory and I have a skating date.
I'm Nancy Kerrigan.
And I'm Tanya Harding. I'm going to do the whole shoelace coming untied, nervous breakdown, let me start again act, and everything.